Good evening, hello, and welcome to the Dr. Allen W. Sugarman Sports Complex here in Fort Lee, New Jersey. The national anthem has been played, both teams have taken the field, the seniors have been introduced, and we are just about ready for some Fort Lee football. My name is Tommy Aquilina. You are watching the YouTube streaming network and the stream of the Fort Lee versus Kearny football game here underneath the bright lights on Friday night. As I mentioned, it is senior night. We will detail that a little bit, and pretty soon these teams are going to be ready to play what will be for each of them their 7th game of the season. It will also be both teams' 6th in conference or in division football game, if you will. Referees and captains for both teams meeting near the 50-yard line. And the big FL on the field. Good crowd here, as again, it is senior night. Also the final regular season game of the season for Fort Lee. The Bridgemen have had a very successful season. Charlie Salame's squad is 5-1 and 4-1 in division, and this really is a matchup between two teams at opposite ends of the division standings. Fort Lee tied with Cliffside Park and Newark Eastside, first place, as they are all 4-1. Fort Lee lost to Cliffside Park back on September 16th and defeated Eastside the following week on September 23rd. Meanwhile, the Kearny Cardinals have had a rough one, 1-4 this year in division, 1-5 overall, with their lone win coming at Ferris back on September 15th. They hung 56 points on Ferris's heads that game. However, in the 4 games since then, the Cardinals, with a K, have only scored 24 points, and they've lost 4 in a row. Fort Lee has won 4 in a row, and their last 3 wins have all been shutouts. 42-0 at Ferris on October 1st, 39-0 against Dwight Morrow on October 7th, and 33-0 at Memorial 8 days ago. Fort Lee will be receiving here to start off this game. Kearny getting ready to kick it, wearing their white uniforms and white helmets with red lettering. A little bit of a squib kick for Fort Lee, and they will have good field position to start. Fort Lee wearing their black uniforms, matte black helmets with some orange on them, orange lettering, white numbering for the Fort Lee Bridgemen. They will start off on offense, led by quarterback number 1, Raymond Lau, one of 10 seniors honored before the game. Just to get them out there up front, Raymond Lau and 9 other seniors. Highlight them a little bit after this first play of the first half. I guess technically second. They start things off with a handoff, and I believe that was another one of the seniors, number 26, Tajon Burns. Burns starting things off with a nice run. The seniors are Lau, Isaiah Stang, Francis Vonderlinden, Paul Kim, Antoine Thompson, the aforementioned Tajon Burns, Alex Fuentes, Scott Hahn, Ruben Mansilla, and Matt Espinal. Talk about them more as we go on. For now, it is 2nd and short for the Bridgemen. It's another handoff. I believe this is Savion Camano. Camano will get a first down before getting dragged. I think he stayed in bounds, but he got past the 40-yard line. Fort Lee has outscored opponents this season 176-41. It has been an entirely different story for Kearny. They've been outscored 189-94. Their lone win of the season did come on the road. They were at Ferris back on September 15th, 1-2 on the road. Fort Lee, meanwhile, 2-1 at home. Couple players in motion. Lau once again hands off to Burns. And Burns with a solid run. He's going to get inside the 30-yard line. So far, 3 offensive plays, 3 runs, and 3 solid gains for the Bridgemen. It'll once again be 2nd and short. While Cliffside Park and Eastside are also 4-1 in division, they're 4-2 overall. The Bridgemen, meanwhile, are 5-1 overall. Looking to win on senior night. It's a handoff to David Gutierrez this time. And Gutierrez will actually have a short gain. It is a very potent rushing attack for the Bridgemen. Camano, Gutierrez, Burns, and Aiden Colon have all run for over 200 yards and multiple touchdowns this season. I believe as a whole, the Bridgemen have 20 rushing touchdowns. Raymond Lau has also thrown 5 himself against just 2 interceptions. 3rd and short. Looks like they're at the 30-yard line. They're going to hand it off again. It's Burns. Burns makes a man miss, and Burns should have a first down. He does, downed at about the 20-yard line. Huge congratulations to the 10 seniors on Fort Lee. They've given 4 years of their lives to this school, this program, and obviously we wish them all the best in their future endeavors. Raymond Lau has been the primary quarterback all season. Mentioned 5 touchdowns, only 2 picks. He has a 53.3 completion percentage this year for 256 yards. Also 15 rushing yards. Burns flanking him on his left. Now he and several other players go in motion. It's a fresh set of downs. Lau did fumble the snap, but we have a whistle. And it was a false start against the Bridgemen, so it's going to be 1st and 15. It'll be 1st and 15 from the 25 for the Bridgemen. Gutierrez comes on for Camano. Mostly clean snap this time. They hand it off to Burns again. Burns sheds a tackle. And it takes about 3 Cardinals to finally drag him down. He's inside the 10-yard line. So a first down on 1st and 15. Salame and the Bridgemen seem content to just run the ball down the throats of the Cardinals. This time it's Lau running, looking for a man, and that pass is nearly intercepted. About 4.5 minutes gone by here in the opening quarter. First run play results in an incompletion. It'll be 2nd down and goal for the Bridgemen. The rushing attack certainly has been potent this year. Tajon Burns entering this game had 69 carries for 576 yards and 8 touchdowns, plus a receiving touchdown. They hand it off to Burns again, and Burns is into the end zone for a touchdown. One incomplete pass attempt. Every running play went extremely well for the Bridgemen. That is the 10th total touchdown of the year for senior Tajon Burns. It'll be Stasi Katsayanis for the extra point. And he misses. That is not something we have seen much from him this year. Entering this one, I believe Katsayanis was 12 out of 14 on the season in points after. Misses that one. Looked like it didn't quite reach the upright. And so with 7:27 to go here in the first quarter, it will be 6-0 Bridgman. Coach Salame does have good running backs to look forward to having next year, even with Burns graduating. All of those other really good running backs are not seniors. Camano, Colon, and Gutierrez are all juniors. And then Jalen Balbuena, who himself has a rushing touchdown this year, is only a sophomore. Fort Lee set to kick off. Katsayanis does boot it, but we have a whistle here. So Burns now with 9 rushing touchdowns and 1 receiving touchdown on the season. The Bridgmen also have 2 really good wide receivers who are seniors and will be graduating. They're 2 top receivers, actually. Isaiah Stang, 3 catches this season for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Paul Kim, 4 catches for 54 yards and 1 touchdown. So an offense led partially but not totally by seniors. Another kickoff attempt. This is from their own 35. And the ball is going to be returned by number 22, Julian Franco, for the Kearny Cardinals. And now we will see what their offense is able to do. Steve Andrews has watched his team not do very much offensively of late. Mentioned they've only scored 24 points in their last 4 games, all of which have been losses. This offense is led by the quarterback, number 8, Christopher Carson. And the Cardinals are also going to start things off with a handoff. It'll be a gain of 5. I believe that was number 6 carrying the ball, Adonis Chong on that one. Second and 5 for Kearny at the 39-yard line. Speaking of seniors for Fort Lee, one of their seniors, Scott Hahn, made the tackle on that last play. Hahn has had himself a good senior season. That is his 25th tackle of the year. 5 of them have been for a loss, and he has 1 sack. Another handoff for the Cardinals, and this is going to be a very short run. I think it was actually Burns on the tackle on that one. Not only does Burns have 10 total touchdowns this season, he entered today with 18 tackles, 3 for a loss on the defensive side. Listed as an outside linebacker by Max Preps. Carson, like Lau often does, going to the sideline, getting the play, and then coming to the huddle. No gain for Chong on that last run, so it's going to be 3rd and 5. Bridgman hoping to force a 3 and out. Carson to pass, and his pass attempt is caught one-handed. Pretty impressive grab right there. That was number 11, Ariel Ruiz Martinez, making the grab, and it results in a 1st down and also gets Kearny in Fort Lee territory.
15-yard game, the 1st and 10 from Bridgman 46. Isaiah Stang on the tackle.
Isaiah Stang ended up making the tackle. I mentioned that he is one of the seniors. Plays a lot of defense as well as offense. Entered today with 9 tackles on the season. Kearny tosses it back for a run. Once again, that was Chong. He is one of the leading rushers for the Cardinals.
Second and 2 from the Brisbane 38.
Fort Lee linebacker Ruben Mansilla, I should say, number 56, making the tackle. Mansilla has had a good senior season himself. 41 tackles on the year, 2 of them for a loss. Little more than 5 minutes to go here in the first quarter. They hand it off to Chong again, and it takes multiple Bridgman to drag him down. Adonis Chong has a first down.
Adonis Chong on the carry. First down.
A lot of good seniors on this defense for Fort Lee. Han, Mansilla, also number 53, Alex Fuentes, defensive lineman. And he has multiple tackles on the season. There's also Matt Espinal. Espinal, number 77. He has multiple tackles this year. His brother is on the team. Carson's back to pass, going for the end zone, and the pass is incomplete. Threw it into double coverage. The intended receiver was Ruiz Martinez.
Intended for Ruiz Martinez. It was incomplete. Second and 10 from the 32.
There are 2 seniors on the team who have younger brothers also on the team. Francis von der Linden, his brother Dimitri, is a sophomore. And Paul Kim's brother Matthew Kim is a freshman. So things staying in the family here for the Fort Lee football team. Second down, it's a run, and the player almost runs into his own offensive lineman. That slows him down. That was Gabriel Ferreira, number 4 on the run.
Loss of 4 on the play.
It's a loss of yardage on first down.
Tajon Burns with his stop. It'll be 3rd and 14 from the Brisbane 36.
Francis von der Linden has 2 tackles, and he has caused a fumble this season for the Fort Lee defense. And I mentioned his brother Dimitri is a sophomore. Third and long, Carson back to pass. He launches one, and it is intercepted. Intercepted by Isaiah Stang. The senior gets a pick, and I believe that's his first of the year here on senior night. Carson basically threw behind his receiver, and the pass was intercepted by Stang as he was falling to the ground. 3:43 to go here in the first quarter, and Fort Lee will take over. Really good night so far for some of the Fort Lee seniors. Tajon Burns with the touchdown run, Isaiah Stang with the interception, and now Lau and company take over. It's another handoff. Burns bouncing off of players and dragging a Kearny defender on a solid first down run. You'd expect Burns to get a majority of the carries. Obviously, Coach Salame is going to want to get his seniors involved as much as possible. It's another handoff. This time it's Camano's already in motion. Savion Camano gets tackled, but he has himself a first down. Fort Lee doing a great job so far at moving the chains consistently. Camano entering this game had 208 yards rushing and 13 yards receiving. 2 touchdowns, both on the ground. Mentioned he's a junior along with Aiden Colon and David Gutierrez. Fresh set of downs at about the 35-yard line. They hand off to Burns again. Burns goes right up the gut. Breaks a tackle, and there goes Tajon Burns. Eventually taken down by number 11, Ruiz Martinez. A huge run for Burns, and he almost Marshawn Lynched that one. If you remember that playoff game from a long time ago now between the Seahawks and the Saints, I thought Burns was down. He broke out of a tackle, and he ends up finally getting taken down at the 28-yard line. make that the 23-yard line, actually, excuse me. So Fort Lee in business. Still about 2 minutes to go here in the first quarter. It's another handoff. This time it's Cologne. Cologne to the right side. He is wrapped up and tackled down violently. Looked like there was a flag that was thrown near the end of the play. And it's going to be a holding call, and I think that will go against Fort Lee. It will, so that's going to negate that play. Coming into the night, it was Cologne, not Burns, who was the team's leading rusher, 578 yards, compared to Burns' 576. 5 touchdown runs on the season for Cologne, and his 77-yard run is the longest of the season for the Bridgemen. So now they're backed up, first down at the 30-yard line. Lau gets the snap, hands it off to Burns again. And Burns is tackled there by 26 on Kearny. 26 on 26 violence. That's Amir Mills.
Amir Mills on the tackle. Second 13 for the 26.
So it'll be 2nd and 13. From the 25-yard line. Under a minute to play in the first quarter. They hand it off again. This is David Gutierrez trying to get to the outside, and he is tackled, I believe, by Chong.
Tackled by Chong.
Many players playing both offense and defense for both teams.
3rd and 13 from the 26.
So not much of a gain there, and now Kearny going to try to put Fort Lee in an awkward position. It's 3rd down. The Bridgemen have time for one more play if they want it. 5 seconds left. It looks like they do want it, but we have a whistle. It's going to be a false start against Fort Lee, so maybe they were a little too excited to run that play before the first quarter ended. 3rd penalty called against the Bridgemen. And it's stifling their offensive progression a little bit. It'll also stifle this first quarter. Through 12 minutes, Fort Lee leads Kearny 6-0. Both teams sorry about that. As I was saying, both teams have played a lot of blowouts lately. Kearny's last game, I guess this isn't a blowout. They lost at Dwight Morrow 26-13 a week ago. Fort Lee, meanwhile, I mean, they've really been running the gauntlet lately. I mentioned their last 3 wins have all been shutouts, and they've scored more than 30 points in all of those games as well. So this is a hot Fort Lee team, and it's honestly pretty impressive that Kearny kept it 6-0 through one quarter. 3rd down for the Bridgemen in Kearny territory. Looking to score twice on 2 possessions against Steve Andrews and his Kearny Cardinals. Three penalties for the Bridgemen, but it was a very good quarter for their seniors. Isaiah Stang with his first interception of the season that killed the only drive of the quarter for the Cardinals. Meanwhile, Tajon Burns ran for his 9th touchdown of the season. The extra point was missed, so it's 6-0. Now it's 3rd down. Lau has attempted 1 pass so far. It was an incompletion. Gonna pass again here. Running away from a defender. Was that pass caught They say it was not hit the ground before it could be hauled in by Stang.
Staying incomplete with 4th down and 18 from 31.
So the incompletion brings up 4th down. Only 8 seconds gone by here in the second quarter. Let's see what Salame and the Bridgemen decide to do here. It looks like they're going to try to go for it on 4th down. They're at the 31-yard line. They need to get inside the 20. I would imagine, though, coming off 3 straight shutout victories, Salame has a lot of faith in his defense, though, even if the field does get flipped. It's going to be a bad snap. Lau does hang on to it. He's fumbled the ball 3 times this year, but he has yet to lose a fumble. Smartly just falls on it there, and Fort Lee will accept the bad play, and Kearny will take over. Pretty good field position, but they are in their own territory. So now Christopher Carson and company will take over for their second drive. They're at their own 40. They start things off with a run. 7-yard gain for Chung on first down. The Cardinals have a few players that they rely on and go to heavily on offense. And in the first quarter, those players were Adonis Chong on the ground and Ariel Ruiz Martinez as a receiver. 2nd and 3 for Kearny. They toss it back to Chong again. Chong has a first down, and he's tackled near the sideline at about the 45-yard line. So Kearny has been able to move the ball. Their offense has not looked as stagnant as you might think, given their poor point differential this year. This is not Chong running. Really nice tackle made by Gabe Jimenez. He has been one of the better defensive players all year long for the Bridgemen. As a matter of fact, Jimenez leads the team, or led the team coming into today, with 54 tackles, 8 of them for a loss of yards. By the way, that was Gabriel Ferreira on the run. And it'll be 2nd down and 10 from the 45-yard line. They fake a toss back. They end up giving it to Ruiz Martinez. He avoids a tackle, almost gets to the outside, but he is tripped up. Kearny has a first down, though. It's a 12-yard gain, and now we have an injury timeout. That might be Ruiz Martinez who's down. Two minutes and 4 seconds gone by here in the second quarter. Fort Lee leading 6-0. Kearny threatening, and now they have an injured player. Not all, but some of Fort Lee's top defensive players this year have been seniors. Defensive back Isaiah Stang, 2 tackles for a loss coming into this one. Picks up the interception off Carson earlier. Also, Frankie Vonderlinden, 1 fumble caused this season. Paul Kim not only is the Bridgeman's leading receiver, he also has 10 tackles and 1 interception himself coming into today's game. Tajon Burns has led the ground game. He also entered this one with 18 tackles. Defensive lineman Scott Hahn entered the game with 24, including a sack. Then, of course, there's Ruben Mansilla, who coming into tonight had 41 tackles, 2 for a loss. If you're wearing number 56 and you're on defense, you got to play well. And then also number 77, Matt Espinal, 3 tackles for him coming into this one. Stats courtesy of Max Preps. Injury timeout over. Fresh set of downs for the Cardinals. They fake a handoff. Now they pitch it back. This is Ferreira with it, and Ferreira is taken down by Gutierrez and Burns. Gutierrez, who wears number 18, entered this game with 18 total tackles on the season. It's another first down for Kearny. 1st and 10 from the 16. They hand off to Chong. He goes right up the gut. And he gets tackled at right about the 10-yard line. Mansilla getting in on the tackle on that one. As you would expect, we have a good and lively crowd here on hand for senior night, as Fort Lee is looking to improve to 6-1 on what has been an already very successful season. They give it to Chong again. Looks like Kearny is trying to get the first down before they worry about actually getting to the goal line.
32.
They have plenty of time, and honestly, it might even be wise to take their time, given how high-flying the Fort Lee offense has been of late. Coming into this one, Fort Lee averaging nearly 30 points per game this season, 176 in 6 games. They give it to Ferreira this time. Ferreira has the first down. Does he have the touchdown?
Ferreira on the run.
No signal yet. We have another official timeout. This time, it's a Fort Lee player who is slow to get up. Can't tell who that is from here. But play has been stopped with 7:40 to go in the second quarter. When we come out of the injury timeout, it'll be 1st and goal from the 1. The bridgeman is up. It looks like that might have been Hahn, number 55. And it is.
1st and goal for Kearny at the 1-yard line.
So we send our best wishes to him as he heads to the sideline. Again, 1st and goal from the 1. Kearny looking to tie this game up. Taking it himself is Carson. Member of the Cardinals has signaled, and now the referee does as well. It looks like it's a Kearny touchdown, and we are tied at 6.
Ties the score at 6-6 pending the conversion.
So Tajon Burns with a rushing touchdown for the Bridgemen. Now Kearny answers with a rushing touchdown by their quarterback, Christopher Carson, and they can take the lead here on this point-after attempt. Justin Rodriguez for the point after, and I think it was blocked. That might have been Mansilla who got in there. But I do think someone got a hand on it and kept that ball from going through the uprights. So missed PATs by Katsayanis and Rodriguez, and we are tied at 6. as each team has one touchdown here with 7:29 to go in the second quarter. Each team's had the ball twice. Each team has had one rushing touchdown and missed the point after. First points allowed by Fort Lee in October. On September 23rd, they beat Newark Eastside right here at the Dr. Allen W. Sugarman Sports Complex by a score of 13-12. 3 straight shutout wins after that, so they've won 4 in a row. And now they might have a little bit of a battle on their hands. 6-6 early in the second quarter. It's going to be Ferreira kicking off for Kearny. A little bit of a squibber. Catching it and falling down is number 4, Jalen Balbuena. So no real gain there for Balbuena. Not particularly good field position for the Bridgemen as they take over on offense for the 3rd time tonight. I think the only senior I haven't mentioned so far is defensive back Antoine Thompson, number 12. He has 6 tackles on the season coming into this one. They fake a handoff to Burns. They give it to Cologne. Cologne has a first down and more. He's tackled at about the 40-yard line. There is a flag on the play. Let's see what the call is here. It's going to be holding against the Bridgemen. That is their 4th penalty of the game. I don't believe Kearny has had a whistle go against them yet. So a fantastic run by Aiden Cologne is wiped away by the holding penalty. Fort Lee backed up at about the 15-yard line. First and long here. It's another handoff to Burns, and Burns is quickly tackled. Short gain there for the Bridgeman senior.
Second and 14 from the 17.
It'll be second and long for the Bridgemen. Lau back to pass. Gets the pass off in the face of pressure. It is caught and taken to the 25-yard line. Let's see who made the grab when he gets up here. I believe that was Burns.
9-yard gain, it'll be 35 to 26.
Burns not only had 8 rushing touchdowns on the season coming into this one, also 7 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. He actually had more receiving yards coming into this game than any Fort Lee wide receiver or tight end. Stang leads the wide receiving corps with 57 yards, or at least he did coming into tonight. 3rd down for the Bridgemen. They need to get to about the 31-yard line. It's a handoff. Burns again. Burns breaks a tackle, and he has himself a first down. It's a 9-yard gain, and Fort Lee will be set up at their own 35-yard line.
Tackled by Tyree Hopkins. First and 10 for the Bridgemen, 35-yard line.
Plenty of time for Fort Lee here. Over 5 minutes to go, plus they still have all 3 of their timeouts. This time they hand off to Cologne, or no, rather Camano, and Camano should have enough for a first down as he is pushed out of bounds. Fort Lee moving the chains. Now under 5 minutes to play here in the first half.
First and 10 for Brisbane at the 47-yard line.
Fuentes and Camano will now come off the field. Gutierrez is on. Lau hands off to Burns again. Burns is into Kearny territory, and it takes multiple Cardinals to drag him down. And it looks like they're going to take him down at about the 42-yard line. So Fort Lee moving the ball as much as they want to, just like they did on their first drive of the game. They place it at the 43. So it'll be first and 10 from there. First we have a whistle, and I believe this is going to be a timeout. It's Kearny taking the timeout with 4:07 to go in the first half. They will get it back to start the second half.
Fans, stop by the concession stand again for your favorite stadium food. Tonight, special include hot dogs, chicken fingers, empanadas, hot chocolate and candy. Stop by the concession stand on the concourse by the entry gate. Thank you.
Fort Lee celebrating senior night here on a chilly but comfortable Friday evening, playing underneath the bright lights of Friday night. Their last tune-up of the season before the postseason. It's been a very good regular season for Fort Lee. Again, 4-1 atop the Ivy White division of the Super Football Conference. Cliffside Park and Eastside also 4-1 in division. Jimenez and Gutierrez in motion. Lau takes the snap, hands it off to Burns. Burns goes to his right. Burns breaks a tackle. Burns finally dragged down by Ferreira inside the red zone. So the Bridgemen are now set up here with just under 4 minutes to play in the half.
Referee's timeout.
We have an injury timeout. Way behind where the play ended, a Kearny player went down. So he is now getting looked at about the 40-yard line. The Bridgemen will be inside the 20 as they look to get on the board for the second time today. Looking at Camano, Colon, Gutierrez, Burns, and Balbuena, now 20 rushing touchdowns between the 5 of those players for the Bridgemen. They have one of the premier rushing attacks in the Super Football Conference's Ivy White division. And while Cliffside Park and Newark Eastside are 4-2 overall, Fort Lee is 5-1 overall. They opened their season with a 35-8 drubbing of Hapatcong. Taking a closer look at the standings, after those 3 4-1 teams, you have Dwight Morrow at 3-3 overall and in division. Then you have Memorial at 2-3, and then Kearny, 6th out of 7 teams in the division at 1-4, ahead of only Ferris, who is winless on the year. Kearny defeated Ferris back on September 15th by a score of 56-28. And since then, They haven't scored half that many points in their 4 losses since. In October, they've been outscored 60-13, but hanging tough with Fort Lee tonight, 6-6. The injured Cardinal is making his way off the field now. It's number 72, Ethan Sanchez.
Bridgman take over first and 10 at the 16 of Kearny.
When he plays defense, Sanchez is a defensive tackle. So Kearny will be without him. Clock running again, little under 4 minutes to play. It's first down, and Fort Lee has it at the 16-yard line. Lau hands off to Camano. Camano running to his left. He's inside the 10-yard line and tackled at about the 5. They're downing it at the 1, so Fort Lee right on the doorstep. I would imagine on this first and goal play, and probably if it gets to second down, they're going to run it. Lau takes the snap, gives it to Burns, and Burns is into the end zone for a touchdown. Second touchdown run of the game for the senior Tajon Burns. It gives him an even 10 rushing touchdowns on the season, and it gives the Bridgmen a 12-6 lead. 3:15 to go here in the first half, and Katsayanis will try to make up for his missed PAT earlier. This time, the kick is good, with the freshman, number 13, Luke Senatori, holding it. So Katsayanis now 13 out of 16 on the season in extra points, and it is a 13-6 lead for the Bridgmen. 3:15 to go in the first half. Kearny will have time to answer. Plus, don't forget, they're going to get the second half kickoff. We've seen Josh Efremov kicking off at times for the Bridgmen, but tonight it's been Katsayanis, and he is set to do it again. And he sends this one away. Couple bounces before being fielded by Ruiz Martinez. And he is taken down by several Bridgmen just shy of the 30-yard line. One of the players who was in there on the tackling scrum was Katsayanis himself. So 3 minutes and 8 seconds to go in the first half. Kearny has it at the 26-yard line. Really the 26.5-yard line. They have 2 timeouts. And they now trail by 7. They could potentially have back-to-back opportunities here to get those points back, as they'll get the ball first in the second half. They give it right to Ruiz Martinez, and he is unable to break that tackle. He was able to get out of the grips of Jaden Lugo, but eventually he was taken down. The force from Lugo hitting him and holding on was enough to make him go down, and it is a minimal gain. They got about a yard on that one. Lugo coming into this one had 5 tackles for a loss, also 3 passes defended. 2.5 to go. Carson now back to pass. Throws it to his right. It is caught. It's going to be a short pass, but it's a completion nonetheless. I believe that was Julian Franco on the catch. So it'll be third down for the Cardinals. Fort Lee would love to force a quick 3 and out and get good field position here. Carson back to pass. He gets the pass off, but there's a whistle. And for the first time tonight, the call is going to go against Kearny. So they'll get backed up on third down with 2 minutes and 23 seconds left in the second quarter. Going to get backed up all the way to the 29-yard line. Kearny trying to answer the second Burns touchdown. So far, they haven't done much offensively on this drive. Carson back to pass. He launches one, looking for Ruiz Martinez, and he makes the catch off the deflection. Stang batted it up in the air, but Ruiz Martinez, with the concentration, he makes the grab, and Kearny has it in Fort Lee territory. It's going to be at the Fort Lee 48-yard line. And still about 2 minutes to work with for the Kearny offense. They give it to Chong. He goes around to the side now. Chong down the sideline and out of bounds after getting inside, or maybe at the 30-yard line. Chong got up to the line of scrimmage, had nowhere to go, so he bounced around to the outside and made a first down run. Carson takes the snap, fakes a handoff, backward shovel pass to Chong, and Fort Lee blows that play up. Mansilla and Joel Rodriguez were there, along with others. Kearny will take a timeout here on second down. It is their second of the half. And they stop the clock with 1 minute and 47 seconds remaining in the second quarter. They are at the 30-yard line following that run play for no gain. A huge catch by Ruiz Martinez to keep this drive alive and also give Kearny really good field position and an opportunity. They got a nice first down run by Adonis Chong on the very next play. And now they're set up a little bit here. Trailing by 7, but at the Fort Lee 30. And again, potentially they're going to get back-to-back possessions here, depending on how the rest of this half goes. It'll be second and about 10 and a half. Carson back to pass, and he launches it way over the head of Franco. Definitely not exactly what Coach Andrews had in mind coming out of a timeout. Now on third and long, Fort Lee has to start thinking about what they can do if they're able to get the ball back. Let's see what Kearny has on third down here. Carson back to pass, launches it down the middle of the field. Once again, it's Ruiz Martinez and Stang, and this time Stang wins the battle. Pass deflected by the senior defensive back, and it's going to be fourth down for the Kearny Cardinals. Stang has had a really good game defensively, and it looks like Kearny is going to go for it. Ruiz Martinez wanted a flag. He did not get it. And Kearny is going to go for it here with 1:37 remaining in the half. Or maybe not. Whatever they do, they're going to take a timeout to discuss it. Might as well, if you're Coach Andrews, you're not going to keep the timeout. So he's going to try to make sure that his team is on the same page here. It's going to be 4th down and about 10 and a half at the 30-and-a-half-yard line. Fort Lee leading this one 13-6. Certainly not the blowout they've been accustomed to here during October. But nonetheless, they do have the lead, and a lot of their seniors have played well after they were all honored before the game. Again, 10 seniors for this Fort Lee team. Lots of orange and black and white balloons and confetti all around the Sugarman Sport Complex. Here's what they do on 4th down. They hand it off. It's Ferrero. Ferrero trying to bust it to the outside. He's going to be close to a 1st down, but there's also a flag on the play. Might have been a late hit. Fort Lee might have just gifted Kearny a 1st down. Ferrero was hit out of bounds after the run, so I believe they awarded 20 on that penalty. So it's going to be 1st and goal from the 10. Kearny cannot get a 1st down without scoring a touchdown. They're out of timeouts, but they have 1:29 to work with. They are getting the second half kickoff, but you definitely don't want to waste this opportunity, especially with points being hard to come by against this Fort Lee defense. They're going to run it. It's Chong going up the middle, breaking tackles, and getting into the end zone for a touchdown. Adonis Chong with a big boy touchdown run. It's a 10-yard carry, and with 1:22 to go in the half, it's a 1-point game. Let's see if Kearny can tie it here. Rodriguez on the kick. It's going to be Carson holding it. Spot is good, and so is the kick. So we are tied at 13 here, late in the 1st half. Fort Lee scoring and missing the point after. So Kearny answers with the same result, and then Fort Lee scores, gets the full 7 points, and Kearny comes right back and does the same thing. Aided by really good running by Chong, a really, really good long reception by Ruiz Martinez, and a big penalty in their own territory by Fort Lee. They will have 1:22 to work with, plus 3 timeouts here, as they look to retake the lead. Fort Lee hasn't given up 13 points in a game since they lost to Cliffside Park 21-14 back on September 16th. This is Balbuena receiving it, getting past the 20-yard line, getting past the 30 and the 40, and he is tackled. I believe that was Ferreira who tackled Balbuena, 4 tackling 4. The Bridgemen will have it at the 42-yard line, and they'll have 1:15 to work with. Trying to pull out a victory on senior night. They're tied right before the half. Lau set to take the snap. And back to pass. Fires over the middle of the field, making the catch, and going into Kearny territory is Balbuena. Fort Lee trying to hurry up here and go without calling a timeout. Lau can't handle the snap. He picks it up, avoids a sack, gets it off to Burns. Burns breaks a tackle, makes a man miss, and he is finally dragged down just shy of the 35-yard line. Fort Lee moving the ball well here, and now they will take a timeout, their first of the half, with 51 seconds to go. So catches by Balbuena and Burns, plus some solid running after the catch and after contact, have Fort Lee set up. Coach Salame's offense will have 51 seconds and 2 remaining timeouts to work with. The ball is at the 36-yard line. 2 touchdown runs for Tajon Burns and an extra point for Stasi Katsayanis has Fort Lee tied at 13 with Kearny. Chong's rushing touchdown and then the extra point being made tied the game for the Cardinals. The Cardinals have not scored more than 13 points in a game since their lone win of the season on September 15th. They lost 26-13 last week to Dwight Morrow. Lau back to pass. He's going to go deep here, looking for Balbuena. Balbuena makes the catch, and he's into the end zone for the touchdown. Jalen Balbuena made the grab, and then his defender basically stopped. He was not out of bounds or at the goal line, so Balbuena just kept going. He waltzes right into the end zone for Balbuena. It is his second touchdown of the season, his first of the receiving variety, 6th touchdown pass of the year for Raymond Lau, and the Bridgemen have a 6-point lead. Katsayanis is going to try to make it 7. Senatori will hold. The kick is up, and the kick is good. A 20-13 lead for Fort Lee as they quickly respond. And they have the lead once again with 43.1 seconds to go in the first half.
Seconds remaining in the first half. The Brisbane lead 20-13.
Probably the best offensive play of the night for the Bridgemen. Lau to Balbuena for a 36-yard touchdown reception. Now Katsayanis to kick off. Caught by Ruiz Martinez. He gives it to Ferreira. Ferreira now running down the sideline. One person to beat. It's Katsayanis. He cannot trip him up. And Ferreira is going to be into the end zone for the touchdown. Some fancy play and good running for the Kearny Cardinals. And at this point in the season, why not, right? Nothing to lose. And they're poised to tie the game if they get the point after. I did not expect this to be as much of a back and forth affair. 26 seconds remaining in the first half. Kearny trying to tie the game at 20. Carson takes the snap. It wasn't great. He held it well. Rodriguez's kick is through the uprights, and we are once again tied. It's 20-all. That was not a bad kick by Katsayanis. It was fielded by Ruiz Martinez at about the 20-yard line, and he went one way while Gabriel Ferreira went the other way, tossed it to him, and Ferreira ran down the left sideline for a touchdown. A kickoff return score for the Kearny Cardinals. They're winless in October, but they're also now tied with the Bridgman, 20-20 with 26 seconds remaining in the first half. So another chance for Fort Lee to take the lead. They'll have 2 timeouts to work with. Kind of a low kick. It's fielded by Thompson, and Thompson is going to get tackled at the 38, maybe 39-yard line. They're going to down it at the 38, 18.7 seconds to go. And Lau and company will once again take over. So Thompson with a solid return, obviously not as good as that nearly 80-yard touchdown run. They hand off to Burns, who gives to Camano. Fort Lee does the same thing, and now here is Camano. He's running down the sideline, going every way the defenders aren't. Still on his feet and finally dragged down inside the 30-yard line. Fort Lee will take a timeout. 4.9 seconds remaining in the half.
35-yard gain.
A 45-yard run that Camano will get credit for, except he won't because there's a holding penalty. It's on Fort Lee, and that play will be erased. That's a tough one. Fort Lee would have had a chance to take 1 shot, maybe 2, at the end zone. Instead, they're going to be taken back to about the 46-yard line. There have been a couple costly penalties for Fort Lee, and that is going to be how the first half ends. Fort Lee and Kearny tied at 20. The Cardinals will receive the second half kickoff, but we're going to take a little bit of a break. The stream will not stop, but I will take a break. It's going to be a 25-minute half, and that will include a performance by the Fort Lee marching band. Definitely stay around for that, as again, it's not just seniors on the football team, but also the Fort Lee cheerleaders and marching band. So we'll see a performance by the marching band. Get a drink, get a snack, get prepared for the second half between Fort Lee and Kearny. And I will be back to have the second half at the Dr. Allen W. Sugarman Sports Complex in about 25 minutes. All right, who's ready for some second half football? I know I am. Tommy Aquilina here with you on the YouTube stream of the Fort Lee football game, where the Fort Lee Bridgemen are taking on the Kearny Cardinals. They're currently tied 20-20 at halftime here on senior night as they play underneath the bright Friday night lights. Fort Lee going to be kicking it off. It will be Josh Efremov doing the kicking off as Kearny will get the second half kickoff. Fort Lee started the game with the ball. They scored a touchdown, did not get the extra point on their first possession. And who's going to get it this time? It's going to be Fort Lee getting it. The ball could not be handled, and falling on it is number 6, Francis Vonderlinden, the senior on senior night, recovers the fumble. Second time this year that Frankie Vonderlinden has been on a fumble recovery for the Bridgemen, and so they will start off with the ball deep in Kearny territory. Second turnover of the game for Kearny. Christopher Carson threw an interception to senior Isaiah Stang back in the first half. And now here, it's a fumble on the kickoff return. A couple Cardinals couldn't handle it. Vonderlinden, the elder Vonderlinden, falls on it. And now the Bridgemen have it at the 30-yard line. Speaking of seniors, here's Raymond Lau with it. Gives off to another senior, Burns. Burns tackled inside the 20-yard line after picking up a first down. Fort Lee has been able to run the ball at will. We do apologize for technical difficulties. You'll notice the camera is off. You should be hearing me just fine. No camera currently. We are working on it. For now, the Bridgemen are at the 20-yard line. Players in motion for the Bridgemen. They fake a handoff to Burns. Now running the opposite way is Camano. Camano down the right sideline into the end zone for the touchdown. Savion Camano gets in on the action, and he runs for the touchdown score, giving Fort Lee the lead again. Only 44 seconds gone by here in the second half, and Fort Lee has retaken the lead. A fumble on the kickoff. Francis Vonderlinden recovers it. Now Katsayanis for the extra point. It is good. A solid kick for Stasi Katsayanis. He is now 3 of 4 on extra points tonight, and the Bridgemen lead this one 27-20. For Camano, it is his 3rd rushing touchdown of the season. The 3 Fort Lee scores in the first half came on 2 rushing touchdowns by Burns and I believe it was a 36-yard touchdown pass from Lau to Jalen Balbuena. So several seniors having really good nights for Fort Lee, and they once again take the lead. Efremov to kick off again. It hits a Cardinal. They fall on it, and I think this time Kearny's going to recover it. It went off the chest of the closest Kearny player to the ball, and there was another player right there who immediately fell on it as the Cardinals went into panic mode. Falling on it was number 78, Joseph Carbajal. Several black jerseyed players fell on top of him, and Kearny will have the ball at their own 43-yard line as they now once again trail. They've been able to respond tonight. This is a Kearny team that entered tonight 1-4 in division on the season, as opposed to Fort Lee being 4-1. Christopher Carson now hands it off, but the play is blown dead. It's a false start, and that'll back up the Cardinals 5 yards. At least one Fort Lee player looking to get the crowd into it. They were really loud and lively in the first half. They had a long intermission where the senior cheerleaders and marching band members of Fort Lee High School got to get going. The camera is back online, so we thank you for sticking it out with us. Hope I did a decent enough job on the metaphorical radio call. Back to TV. It's a handoff, and blowing up the play are the Bridgemen. Didn't see who exactly got in on that tackle, but there were several Bridgemen in the area, including number 11, Paul Kim. Carson fakes a handoff, now tosses it back. The ball was not caught or held on to cleanly. Several Fort Lee players took him down. They want a turnover, and they have a turnover. Fort Lee takes over again. So Kearny hung tough with the Bridgemen in that first half. They actually exited the first half tied at 20. The second most points Kearny has scored in an entire game all season, but now here in the early going of the second half, we're starting to see why they are near the bottom of the Ivy White division of the Super Football Conference. A turnover on the kickoff, a turnover on their first possession of the half, 3 turnovers on the night now for Kearny. And Fort Lee is going to try to take advantage. This is Camano on the run, breaking tackles and getting taken down at about the 25-yard line. Barely more than 2 minutes gone by here in the second half, and Fort Lee has already gotten 2 turnovers and a touchdown. Lau to Burns to Camano. Camano has the first down. He's headed for the end zone. He's going to get stopped short, but he will make it inside the 10-yard line. In the first half, and now so far in the early going of the second half, Fort Lee has gotten whatever they want on the ground. They're going to run it again. Camano running to the outside and into the end zone for the easy touchdown. Wait. There are whistles. Let's see what they say here. It's going to be a holding call against Fort Lee, and that might be why such a large lane opened up for Camano. Camano nearly had his second rushing touchdown of the first 3 minutes of the third quarter, but instead the Bridgemen are going to be backed up to the 13-yard line. Mentioned some of the Bridgemen seniors who had really good first halves, or halves, I should say. Isaiah Stang with an interception, his first of the year. Also getting in on some of the tackling action. Raymond Lau with his 6th touchdown pass of the season. That was to the sophomore Jalen Balbuena. And Tajon Burns has gone over 600 rushing yards on the season, his 9th and 10th rushing TDs of the year to go along with a receiving touchdown. And now Francis von der Linden getting in on the action with a fumble recovery on the second half opening kickoff. That led to a Camano touchdown, and that's why it's now 27-20. Stasi Katsayanis 3 out of 4 on extra point attempts after missing his first one. First and goal from the 13 for the Bridgmen. Lau hands off to Burns. Burns goes up the middle. A Bridgman loses his helmet, and Burns is inside the 10-yard line. Looks like they're going to spot it at the 9. So that was a 4-yard run for Burns. Coming off the field is Ruben Mansilla, awarded at halftime with the Steve DiGregorio Young Man of the Year award. Detail that a little bit more in a moment. It's second and goal from the 9 for the Bridgmen. Lau getting the play. And now taking the snap. It's a high snap, he handles it. A couple Cardinals players are right there at the line of scrimmage to meet Burns, and that's going to be a short carry on 2nd down and 9. The Steve DiGregorio Young Man of the Year award honors kids who make an impact in their community as well as on the football field. It was awarded to Ruben Mansilla, and for Kearny, their quarterback, Christopher Carson. Mansilla said it before tonight, but he's had a really great season. More than 40 tackles on the year, including multiple tackles for a loss. He's out there for this 3rd down play. It's another give and go. Lau to Burns to Camano to the end zone. And Savion Camano does have his 2nd rushing touchdown of the 3rd quarter. That doubles his total on the year. And it's a double-digit point lead, I should say, for the Bridgmen with 7:15 to go in the 3rd quarter. Looking at the standings, maybe this here in the second half is how you might have expected the game to go. It's a 13-point lead for the Bridgmen. Katsayanis on for the point after. And he is 4 for 4 since missing the first one. It is a 2-touchdown lead, 2 full touchdowns for the Bridgmen. 34-20, 7:15 to go in the 3rd quarter. Katsayanis now 16 out of 19 on point after attempts this season. Savion Camano now has 4 rushing touchdowns, including 2 in the last 5 minutes. Efremov to kick off to the Cardinals for the 3rd time in the half. It's a lower kick, and this time it is handled somewhat cleanly, as number 41, Oscar Bermudez, just kind of snuggles up to the ball and lays down with it so that no harm can come of that play. So far in the 3rd quarter, Kearny has had 1 possession, and they've turned the ball over twice. And a tie game is now a 14-point lead for the Bridgmen. Fort Lee has now scored over 30 points in 5 of their 7 games this year. Carson hands it off to Ferreira. Ferreira running down the left sideline, and Stang tackles him, but not before Ferreira gets into Fort Lee territory. It's not like Kearny has been unable to move the ball, and they get a big play there. And the ball will be spotted at about the 48-yard line. Let's say the 47-yard line of Fort Lee. Still plenty of time to go in this one. 2 very quick scores for the Bridgmen here in the 3rd quarter. Now Carson tosses it back. I believe this is Chong getting taken down by Jimenez and maybe a couple other Bridgmen. I think Lugo was in on that one as well, or around the play.
5-yard gain, 6-yard gain, 2nd and 4 from the 41.
It'll be 2nd and 4 from the 41-yard line for Kearny as they look to answer back. Not one score down, but 2 now. A rough few minutes to open up the third quarter. Trying to get back into it, and that play is blown up. That'll be a loss of yards. Probably a loss of 2 on that carry. And it'll bring up third down. They're not deep into Fort Lee territory, but you almost have to figure that this might be 4-down territory for Kearny. Let's see what they can do here on 3rd and about 5. Carson back to pass. He has his man. It's Ruiz Martinez for the first down. He is tackled by Stang, but it is a first down, and Kearny is inside the Fort Lee 30-yard line. Kearny, losers of 4 in a row heading into this one, but they just will not go away, and they're now at the 28-yard line. Still more than 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Carson gets the snap and hands it off quickly. It's going to be Chong on the carry, but it's going to be a very short gain, if it's a gain at all. Burns in on that tackle for Fort Lee. Mansilla was in the area as well, and that's going to go down as a loss of 1 for Chong. Fort Lee has spread the wealth with their running game, but it's mostly been Chong for Kearny. 2 rushing touchdowns for Burns, 2 rushing touchdowns for Camano. That's on the Bridgman side. Chong has had a good game for Kearny. And on 2nd down, they toss it back to Ruiz Martinez. Ruiz Martinez is taken down. He got past Balbuena, but ultimately the impact from Balbuena's tackle took Ruiz Martinez down. Balbuena has had a good game on both sides of the ball for Fort Lee, making his presence felt defensively, also with a touchdown reception in the first half. On come Carson and number 26, Amir Mills. And on 3rd down, Carson fakes a handoff, pitches it back to Ferreira. Ferreira is taken down behind the line of scrimmage. Burns and I believe another Bridgman were in on that one. That might have been Paul Kim, and also, of course, Mansilla was in the area as well. Seems like Mansilla and Jimenez are in on just about every tackle, at least one of them for Fort Lee. They're all over the place. So it's 4th down now. Kearny will go for it with a little over 3 to go in the third quarter. Carson back to pass. He's going to launch it towards the end zone. Ruiz Martinez dives and is unable to make the play. He was double covered by the seniors Kim and Stang, and now Fort Lee will take over, and they're going to have an opportunity here to really step on the throats of the Cardinals. We shouldn't see Aiden Colon in this one again. He is on crutches on the sideline. Entering tonight, he was the Bridgman leading rusher, although after tonight, that might be Burns. He was only behind him by 2 yards. It's mostly been Burns, Camano, and Gutierrez on the ground for the Bridgman, and when they've wanted to make some pass plays, they've been able to do that as well. Here it's Burns on the carry, and Burns is going to get tackled at the 35-yard line. Looks like that was number 52, Michael Charney, on the tackle. Or maybe Charney, I believe is how that would be pronounced. About 2.5 to go here in the third quarter. It was a tie game, but in the third, it's 14-0 Fort Lee, and they're trying to get on the board again here. 2nd and 3, I believe, from the 35. Here it's Kamano. Kamano gets taken down in the backfield. Good play by number 77, Brian Villatoro. Got a hold of Kamano early and was able to drag him down, bringing up 3rd down for Fort Lee. Gutierrez will now come on the field as Lugo, Kamano, and Kim head off. That is the senior Paul Kim, not to be confused with his younger brother Matthew. On 3rd down, Lau hands it off to Burns again. Burns has the first, and he gets dragged down after getting past the 40-yard line. Fort Lee continuing to move the chains with relative ease here late in the 3rd quarter. It'll be 1st and 10 for Fort Lee at the 42-yard line. This time Burns gives it off to Gutierrez, and Gutierrez is breaking tackles. He gets dragged down at about the 35-yard line of the Cardinals. I believe that was Franco on the tackle. It's another 20-plus yard run, and Fort Lee goes with the hurry-up offense. Burns with a short yardage gain here. They're only going to give him about 3 or 4. There's about half a minute to go in the 3rd quarter, and Fort Lee is trying to take total advantage of this one, or total control, I should say. They've taken advantage of some Kearny mistakes. 3 turnovers for the Cardinals, plus a turnover on downs, and it looks like Fort Lee is going to let the clock run out on the 3rd quarter. They will take their 2-touchdown lead into the 4th quarter here on senior night. It's 34-20 Bridgman heading into their final regular season quarter of the year. And as Queen's We Will Rock You plays, and the crowd starts to get into it a little bit more, the field is being flipped. Fort Lee has it, and they are threatening for their 3rd score of the half. It was 20-20 after 24 minutes, and then there was a fumble on the opening kickoff of the 2nd half by Kearny, recovered by Francis von der Linden. Savion Kamano with the touchdown run, and then after another turnover by Kearny, Kamano with another touchdown run. So it's 34-20 Fort Lee, and they're threatening for more. 2nd down, and it's another handoff to Burns. Burns past the 30-yard line before a couple players take him down. There is a flag thrown at the end of the play. It's going to be a holding against Fort Lee, so forget that run by Burns. And Fort Lee will get backed up to about the 39.5-yard line. They'll redo 2nd down, although the extra time being taken here does not hurt them as they have their 2-score lead over Kearny. Figure they're going to really try to stay on the ground here. And hold on for what would be their 6th win of the season. They do hand it off. Burns gives it to Kamano, and Kamano is tackled behind the line of scrimmage. Couple players in on that one for Kearny. Looks like it was Chong and Carbajal. It'll be third and extremely long for Fort Lee, as this offensive possession has stalled a little bit here in the early goings in the fourth quarter. Big third down here for Kearny. If they can get the ball back with decent field position, they have plenty of time. More than 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. They have all their timeouts. And we saw in the first half they can put up a fight against the Bridgemen. Lau takes the high snap, fires it over the middle to Lugo. Lugo's wide open. He's going to waltz into the end zone for the touchdown. Blown coverage on that play. Lugo blew by Ferreira, and once he caught that ball from Lau, there was nothing but green in front of him. So Kearny, instead of having an opportunity to get the ball back with good field position and a chance, they now trail by 3 scores. I don't know what Coach Salame said to his team at halftime, but whatever it was, it jolted them to life. Number 76 for Fort Lee hustling onto the field. Senatori with the hold. Katsayanis with the extra point attempt, and it is good. So after being tied at halftime, Fort Lee now has Kearny more than doubled up. It's 41-20. .27 to go here in the fourth quarter. It has been all Fort Lee here in the second half, and they now lead by 3 touchdowns. Kamano with 2 runs, and Lau with a touchdown pass to Lugo, a long touchdown pass to Lugo. Longest TD pass play of the season for the Bridgemen. Lau with his 7th touchdown of the year. Efremov kicks it off. A Kearny player runs into his teammate's back. Ultimately, they are going to have pretty good field position here. They're going to be set up at about the 35-yard line, but unless they can score 3 incredibly quick touchdowns, Kearny is going to fall to 1-6 on the season. For Fort Lee, they would improve to 6-1, 5-1 in division, and this would be their 5th consecutive victory. Second time this season, Fort Lee has dropped at least 40. They beat Ferris 42-0 on October 1st. It's a handoff here for Kearny. I believe that is Chong getting pushed backwards. It is Chong, and the whistle is going to blow the play dead. Several Bridgemen stood up the Kearny running back there. Katsayanis now 5 out of 6 on points after. He's attempted 20 this year. He's made 17 of them. It's another handoff. This time it's Ferreira, and Ferreira gets tackled hard by Gabe Jimenez, who celebrates as he should. Third down coming up. Officially, it's no gain, so it will be third down from about the 37-yard line. Looks like it's going to be like 3rd and 8. If Kearny cannot come back, they will fall to 1-3 on the road this season. They've gone winless at home. They're 0-3. I think the Kearny center was just playing rock, paper, scissors with one or two members of Fort Lee. That's awesome. Anyway, they snap it. Carson looking to pass, and it is through the hands of Ferreira, who goes down to a knee. Might have landed awkwardly on that left foot and not really putting a ton of pressure on it. Fourth down coming up. Kearny is going to go for it because why not? Fort Lee looking to improve to 5-1 in division and 3-1 at home this season. They have done well at the Dr. Allen W. Sugarman Sports Complex. On fourth down, Carson back to pass. He launches it, dealing with pressure, and unable to make the grab is Ruiz Martinez, staying in coverage, and he's done a representative job tonight against Kearny's top receiver. It's another turnover on downs here. Second of the half, and Fort Lee will take over with 8 minutes and 36 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. How impressive is this? Fort Lee has outscored opponents, including tonight, 217-61. A largely dominant season for Fort Lee. Really, outside of their loss to Cliffside Park, it has been dominant. They've won all of their other games, and the only one that wasn't a blowout was their 13-12 squeaking by against Newark Eastside. Lau fakes the handoff to Burns, goes over the middle, and that pass is out of the reach of Camano. If he had caught it, there was no one in front of him, but the pass was quite high. Incomplete pass does stop the clock. So that's the good news for Kearny. 8:31 to go in this one. Now Lau hands it off to Burns on second down. Player holding on to the ankle area of Burns, and he's eventually taken down. I believe that was Chong holding onto his lower body, and eventually he gets dragged down. I think Carbajal was also in the area. Third down for the Bridgemen. They're at the Kearny 31-yard line. Lau gives it right to Camano. Camano has the first down. He's to the 20. Camano's to the 10. Camano does not have a touchdown, but he is right there. I think they're going to mark him down at the 1. Another good carry for a member of this Fort Lee running core. That was a 30-yard run for Camano. He and Burns have 2 rushing touchdowns each, and then 2 passing touchdowns by Lau. Fort Lee looking for more. If they score here, it'll be a season high in points. Looks like they're going to see if someone can run it in. It's Mansilla. Tries to go in through the bottom of the pile, and he does! The Steve D. Gregorio Young Man of the Year award winner for Fort Lee specifically, with a chance to win it for the entire conference later, scores the touchdown on offense. He usually plays defense, but Ruben Mansilla has himself a touchdown run, 5th rushing touchdown of the night for the Bridgemen. Now Katsayanis on for the point after. Flag on the play. Timeout taken by Fort Lee. That is their first of the half. And Coach Salame does, in fact, have the ability to say that his team has scored a season high in points. They lead it 47-20 with a little over 7 minutes to go. You want to be able to say that your seniors led the way in a victory on senior night, and that is what Fort Lee is going to be able to say. Detail that a little bit after this PAT attempt. Katsayanis has made 5 in a row. Katsayanis has made 6 in a row, and it's 48-20 Bridgman. If you joined us late, you might not believe that this game was tied at halftime, but it was, I promise. It was 20-20, and Fort Lee just jumped Kearny early in the second half, and they've outscored them 28-0 here in the final regular season half of the Fort Lee seniors' careers. Their high school careers, at least. So now it'll be the junior Efremov on another kickoff. Catching it and falling down with it is Bermudez. The seniors really have stepped up and shown out. Not that the other players have not played well for Fort Lee. They absolutely have. But Raymond Lau, 2 touchdown passes today, gives him 7 on the year against just 2 interceptions. He will finish the season completing more passes than incompleting. Isaiah Stang has had a really good game. Played good defense on Kearny's top receiver. Also his first interception of the season. Francis Vonderlinden with his second fumble recovery of the season, and that was a big one because it came on the opening play of the half, a kickoff that was not handled by Kearny. Vonderlinden fell on it in Kearny territory, and the Bridgemen were off to the races. Paul Kim, meanwhile, hasn't done much offensively, but he's been right in the middle of the action defensively, as has Antoine Thompson. He also had a solid gain on what I believe was a kickoff. Tajon Burns has had a great game, particularly on the ground. Ran for his 9th and 10th rushing touchdowns of the season. Carson hands it off here. Multiple times tonight we've seen players for Kearny run into the backs of the players that are supposed to be blocking for them, and it happened again there. Short gain, and it'll bring up 3rd down. Number 53, Alex Fuentes, has had a really good defensive game for Fort Lee. So has Scott Hahn. And Ruben Mansilla not only has been in the middle of the action defensively and was awarded the Fort Lee chapter, I guess, if you will, of the Steve DiGregorio Young Man of the Year Award. He also scored a touchdown. Carson gets that pass off. It is caught right at the 1st down marker. So is it a first? Or is it going to be 4th and short? Yes, they're going to say he did get the first, and they're going to move the chains. So Mansilla with his first touchdown of the season. And then finally, we've called Matt Espinal's name more tonight than we have in much of the season, as he's had one of his better games of the year. Ultimately, it has been a fantastic night for Fort Lee High School. New set of downs for Kearny. They hand it off here. Chong gets tackled at about the 44-yard line. So 10 seniors for Fort Lee will be able to say that their high school careers ended well, or at least the regular season ended well, because there is still more business to be attended to. We will see what happens in terms of the postseason for the Bridgemen. But even if Cliffside Park and Newark Eastside win their games this week, Fort Lee will finish with a share of first place in the Ivy White division of the Super Football Conference. Another handoff to Chong. Chong is into Fort Lee territory, and he gets taken down at about the 48 or 49-yard line. Little over 4 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. Kearny just kind of filling out the string here. They will not be in last place, at least by themselves, because their win came against Ferris. So even if Ferris were to win and they were to lose, they'd both be 1-5. Technically, Kearny would be ahead. Cliffside Park has the head-to-head tiebreaker on Fort Lee. Fort Lee has the tiebreaker on Eastside. They had him at the 47, third down. They fake a handoff to one player, give it to another, and his body is bent in a way it's not supposed to be bent. I don't see who made the tackle there. Looks like it was Joel Rodriguez. Rodriguez, Mansilla, Hahn, Katsayanis, they have been right in the middle of the action all night on defense for the Bridgemen. And after giving up 20 points in the first half, they have yet to surrender a score here in the second half. This is already the most points they've allowed all year. Or no, I lied. They lost to Cliffside Park 21-14. This is Ferreira now. He has the first down and a lot more than that. He's inside the 30-yard line before getting dragged down by a couple Bridgemen. So Kearny is not going to go quietly. They're not taking this one lying down. You have to give them credit for putting 20 points on the board in the first half. This was a Fort Lee team that hadn't allowed a point in October. For Kearny, the 20 points is their second highest output of the year. Chong on the carry again. Short gain. Let's call it 2 yards with just about 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Penalties hobbled Fort Lee a little bit in the first half. That's one of the reasons why we were tied. But in the second half, just sloppy play from Kearny. Too many turnovers, whether on downs or in the middle of their possession. Carson hands it off to Chong again here on second down, and Chong is going to get inside the 20, I believe. Katsayanis on the tackle. Not a senior, but he's had a really good game tonight. 6 out of 7 on extra point attempts, and he's had a really good game defensively. It's third down. They pitch it back to Ruiz Martinez. He has the first, and he's headed to the end zone. He is going to be in there for the touchdown. So Kearny not lying down. really no time left in this one, but they do get on the board here in the second half. That's going to be a rushing touchdown for Ariel Ruiz Martinez. Kearny's going to go for 2. Why not? Carson gets it and immediately launches it to the end zone. And it's caught. Really good coverage there, I believe by Balbuena, but it did not matter. The ball was hauled in by Julian Franco. So the 2-point conversion is successful. It is a 48-28 lead for Fort Lee with 47.3 seconds remaining. So now the Bridgemen have given up more points than they've allowed in any other game this season, but they've also scored more points than they have in any other game. So ultimately, if you're on this coaching staff, I think you have to be pretty happy. And if you're a fan of Fort Lee, you have to be happy with how the coaching staff and the team has done as they are putting the finishing touches on what's going to be a 6-1 regular season. And they'll head into the postseason having won 5 straight. Kearny, meanwhile, is headed for their 5th loss in a row. Ferreira to kick off following the touchdown. He tries to grab it himself. Did that ball go 10 yards? Not too often do you see an onside kick attempt where the kicker tries to receive it. 4.3 seconds came off the clock. And it looks like they're going to say it's Fort Lee ball. No, I'm wrong. They're going to say it's Kearny ball. I'll tell you what, we've seen some nice plays tonight. That's one of the more impressive ones we've seen. Ferreira squib kicking it and then receiving it himself with a Bridgman in the area. Really nice play. And so Kearny will get it back. So they're going for it here, but they need to score 20 more points in 43 seconds. It would be like national news if they did that. They'll have it at the 50 with all 3 of their timeouts for whatever that's worth. Very low snap. Oh, Chong couldn't catch it. He tried to fall on it. He was unable to, but it looks like a member of the offensive line for Kearny did wind up with it. And I believe that offensive lineman is Charney. So it'll be 2nd and 19 from the 41. Good snap this time. Carson running away from pressure. He gets it off. The pass is completed, but it's still going to be a loss of yards.
Gentlemen, have a good night.
And that is going to be how this one ends. A solid defensive play, a tackle for a loss, fittingly enough, and the Fort Lee Bridgemen win big on senior night, 48-28 against Kearny. They improve to 6-1 and 5-1 in division, and a very successful regular season for Fort Lee has come to a close. Thank you to all of the fans who tuned in this year. Thank you to Fort Lee Athletic Director Michael Raftery, as well as Dimitri Nanas. Thank you to anyone who listened during the year, cheered on the Bridgemen. It has been fun calling Fort Lee football games for you. One more time, my name is Tommy Aquilina. Thank you so much for listening here during the 2022-23 season to Fort Lee get at least a share of first place in the Ivy White division in the Super Football Conference. Once again, the final score on senior night, Fort Lee 48, Kearny 28. Have a good night, everyone. I'll see you next time.